Welcome back. Yesterday morning, I was on with Ken Connors, who filled in all week for Andrew Carter, and as always, did a fantastic job doing so. And I joined him for Second Breakfast with Brenda O'Farrell, the editor and founder of the 1019 Report. And Brenda brought up a very interesting issue and about density, especially in the Vaudreuil area on the West Island, and a lot of questions, with the REM coming and other housing pressures. There are big questions about the way urban development is being planned in the West Island, and she raised really interesting questions, and I thought it'd be worthwhile to delve deeper into these questions. So, Brenda, thank you for coming back on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
So set it up like you did yesterday morning. I mean, what's the situation, especially in Vaudreuil, right? You were talking about the situation in Vaudreuil with density?
Well, yes. Well, the CMM, the Communauté Métropolitaine de Montréal, have put together this new proposal for their schéma d'aménagement, which is basically looking at how the entire region of the CMM, which takes in a huge, vast territory of 82 municipalities, so everything on the island and everything surrounding it, the Côte Nord, the South Shore, to the west, to the east. It's a massive territory. And so they've put forward this proposal, and in it, it hasn't been made public yet, but the MRC in Vaudreuil-Soulanges have come out publicly to sort of denounce it already, and they've put in a brief to the CMM, basically saying, what is being proposed for Vaudreuil-Soulanges is just untenable. And basically what they're proposing is to increase the housing densification to a level of what they call 40 housing units per hectare. And again, that...
Yeah, nobody understands what that means. Yeah. I don't. Nobody does.
I did a little digging. And if you look at, the town of Saint-Lazare, which is one of the fastest growing towns in Vaudreuil-Soulanges, parts of Saint-Lazare, the housing density as it stands now is about 2.7 housing units per hectare. The town of Hudson has, overall, the average is 3 housing units per hectare. So to increase that to 40 is astronomical when you think of the fact that, first of all, you cannot redevelop an area that is already developed. So the focus then becomes on all the undeveloped areas, how much you have to put into that area to get it up to an average of 40. So what are the implications of this? And this is what people are starting to get their heads around. And it means that, there's so many layers to this, in the sense that, in an undeveloped area, for years now, everybody's talking about preserving green space and preserving the tree canopy and providing mixed housing and all these type of things. But the CMM is coming in saying, no, densify at a rate unseen before. How do they do that? So if you're going into areas that have no housing, that are actually undeveloped natural spaces, you have no infrastructure, you have no roads, you have no water systems, you have no sewer systems. And, and most of, a big part of Hudson and St. Lazare right now, they're on septic systems. There is no infrastructure there. And you can't put, the idea of increasing the density to this rate means that the idea of putting in single-family dwellings, forget about it.
Yeah.
We're talking about large multi-family dwellings, condo towers, multi-level units. You can't do that on a septic system.
True.
First off. The second thing is, how many cars are coming into these areas? Because, again, there is no public transit there. So even the road network is not equipped for it, and in some areas, not even there. And then you add to it the fact that, the big talk out here is that, they're going to build a new bridge because the Yellow Torque Bridge is, and they won't even, they're in an opportunity where you can build a brand new bridge, and they're refusing to put the REM on it to be able to even access public transit. So, you put all this, and then I'll just add one other layer of complexity to it. While all this is happening, in June, the provincial government decided to launch what will be a year-long consultation because they're going to open up all the rules and regulations that are governed by the CPTAQ, the Commission de Protection des Territoires Agricoles.
Mm-hmm.
When they made that announcement in June at the press conference, you had the Minister of Agriculture, because the CPTAQ, when it was founded, when it was created, back in the PQ days of the late 70s, it was created to protect farmland.
Mm-hmm.
When they announced the reopening or the revision of all these rules, at the press conference, you had the Minister of Agriculture, but you also had the Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Minister of Housing and the Union des municipalités de Québec and the Fédération des municipalités de Québec. And I'm thinking to myself, what does that signal? Because in a lot of towns around urban areas, there's so much pressure to dezone farmland. Where is this review of these laws going to end up? It's no longer being framed or being looked through as a lens to protect farming. If all these ministries are going to be involved, all these ministries are putting pressure on the local government to dezone farmland. So all of this is happening all at the same time, and that can't be a coincidence. So you wonder, where is this all going to end up? And, I think people are unaware of where this is all going to land. The amount of change that seems to be coming down the track is enormous, and nobody seems to be concerned. And I think part of the problem, if I could extrapolate one more little
I'm running out of time very quickly, Brenda.
The CMM was created by the federal government, or by the provincial government, to impose norms in areas they had no control over. Municipalities control these, but now that's been usurped by the CMM, completely controlled by the province, and then imposed on the municipalities. So big change has happened to a lot of places, and who is accountable for that? No one. It's not in the provincial government's purview. It's not in the municipality's purview. It's now being dictated by a newly created level of government, being the CMM, who is accountable to no one.
Well, the CMM is headed by the mayor of Montreal and the mayors of the 82 municipalities that compose it. That's the structure.
But when someone in a small town says, "Oh, I don't like what's going on," the mayor of that town, who sits on the CMM, saying, "Well, there's nothing we can do. It's the CMM."
Well, no, I understand what you're saying, but there is a structure. There's way to influence it, but it's a different structure. I have to end it there. You set the table very well, but I will end on this. You're very careful when you say it seems to be heading in a direction. I will tell you, if the Quebec government is investing $2.6 billion to build a super hospital in Vaudreuil, there's going to be development around it. That's the answer.
Oh, yeah,
and there's going to be super development everywhere. But thank you so much for coming on, Brenda, to lay this out. And it's a conversation we definitely need to continue having. Appreciate your time and have a great weekend.
You too.